Welcome to HSBC Global Viewpoint, the podcast series that brings together business leaders and industry experts to explore the latest global insights, trends, and opportunities. Make sure you're subscribed to stay up to date with new episodes. Thanks for listening, and now on to today's show.
Hi, I'm Jonathan Yip, Asia Head of HSBC Innovation Banking. Joining me today is Neil Falconer, Head of HSBC Innovation Banking Singapore, and Boon Keat, CEO of Glife Technologies. Welcome.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks, Jonathan. BK, I think before we start today, I've always been fascinated by your background, going right back to the early days in the military. I wonder if you'd just give an introduction to what you've done in the past and how you came on this journey to be with Glyph.
Sure. Actually, my career is quite easily explained in three phases, I would call it. The early years, when I was 18 years old up to 47 years old, there's one career, which is in the military, the Singapore Armed Forces. Thereafter, of course, I joined the commercial sector from 2019 to 2024 in FairPrice as a head of channels, rising to the position of head of channels in the retail. And then before joining Glyph, just to rewind back in my almost 30 years of career in the military, one would ask why go into the commercial sector, and one would ask also why go into the fresh produce business. I would say it's accidental, right? When I was in the military, I've always enjoyed thinking out of the box, doing things slightly differently, constantly challenging ourselves to be innovative and solve problems for the betterment of our soldiers or the system, the organization. I've enjoyed all these challenges. So when I retired, I told myself that I want to be in a space that I can learn new things. If I have a choice, I want to go into commercial and try something different. So FairPrice came along, and there was this option for me to run convenience store, which I thought was quite exciting to be running convenience store in Singapore. So I ran Cheers as a deputy GM first before I was being promoted to become the GM of Cheers. And so I've always enjoyed the space in trying to be innovative and solving problems. So naturally, when this opportunity came about in Glyph, I thought I've spent enough time in the corporate world. Now it's for me to start off, to try it out in the startup world, to try out to see how I can help the company to grow into the next level of growth for Glyph.
Can you maybe just explain a little bit around like what Glyph does and the opportunities that it's trying to solve for?
Sure. Glyph is an agritech company, as you introduced us earlier on. We are a young company. We started in 2018. The team saw an opportunity and they want to make the food supply chain space more efficient, more transparent and fair. So back in 2018, the small group of founders and the small team saw the fragmented way in the journey between the farmers and the F&B operators, which is our main customer in the B2B space. And they decided to build a bridge across these farmers and the F&B to make the whole chain efficient and thereby, of course, freeing up, reducing waste in between, making the whole system more efficient. Of course, in 2018, they were then slowly building a business. Started with a few trucks, with a few farms they collaborated with, worked hard to get the businesses, a few F&B, and like most businesses, how they started. But with a strong belief that with technology and they are able to help both the farmers and the F&B operators to be better organized, more efficient, and hopefully make more money in between. But as we all know, we were hit by COVID, right, back in 2020. Everybody got hit. All businesses, all type of businesses, all size, whether you're big and small, you get hit. It's much more difficult for the startup business. Right? They were just starting out, just rewinding back, right, from 2018 to 2020, just barely 2 years, and they got hit by COVID. That was a difficult few years for the company. I wasn't with the company, but hearing from the team, I know it was a difficult year for the company. But credit to the founders and the small teams in the company, they managed to pivot because they were already building the software to support the farmers and the restaurants. They could quite quickly adapt the software for the online customer. So they pivoted from B2B to B2C just to survive. And at that point, nobody was talking about how to grow the company 10 times, right? Everybody was talking about how do you survive the next month, right? The cash flow and everything else. So they were precisely doing that. Parking the vision of B2B supply chain aside, focusing on the immediate task of surviving and not giving up, digging in to make sure that companies survive, which they did. I think really credit to the team for riding through the COVID years. And I always believe that those companies that survive through COVID will be able to survive, not even survive, but thrive beyond COVID, right?
So a lot of character build through that year.
Indeed. So one of the things that they I think, caught the attention of institutional investors at that point in time was this resilience of the team, that they were able to pivot and able to survive in the toughest condition. And when you identify the character as that, right, post-COVID, then I think people believe that they will make it, which is what happened. So in 2020, they managed to raise a substantial amount of money from Series A investors, comprising key institutional investors now still in our cap table. I think because they saw the kind of resilience and the fortitude and fighting spirit in the team. Fast forwarding beyond 2020 to 2023, we grew the business, of course, slowly with the new money added in. We were then acquiring businesses in the region. We started to establish food sourcing across the region, mainly in Vietnam, Malaysia, establishing subsidiary, acquiring companies in Indonesia, building facilities in Johor, right, where and to strengthen our processing arm and capabilities. So between 2020 and 2023, we were all trying to build the business and building up the capabilities for it. And we are doing well. We are acquiring, I think up to that point, I would say almost 1,000 customer points of F&B and caterers and hotels that we are serving, and the enterprise customer at large.
BK, maybe just another question, just to dive into the ASEAN proposition, because we often hear ASEAN talked about as a region, and it is with huge potential, but it's many different countries that operate very differently to each other.
Yeah.
Now being a regional player in a number of markets, how would you advise a new business and maybe an early stage business that wants to take advantage of the region to approach growth into ASEAN? Is it a market by market approach or a pan-ASEAN approach?
Yeah, I think taking a lead from what our experience is in Glyph, of course we started here and then we quickly branch off to Malaysia, Indonesia, Vietnam, and then subsequently China. Yes. I think Singapore market, if you ask a lot of businesses, they will say that it's too small, right? Indeed, we are small. So we must recognize this, right? This is geography, this is facts. Market is small. If your ambition is 1 billion market size cap and you want to go regional, right? Hopefully global at some point in time, but regional first, right? So my advice would be, right, have a view to go out and be bold in going out, right? We never quite know what is out there. The advantage we have in Singapore is that Singaporeans and Singapore businesses, our people are bilingual by training in the early education years. I think that helps because we speak Bahasa Indonesia, we speak Bahasa Malaysia, Melayu. So slight variation, slight nuances are different, but you can get by. I speak Mandarin because it's my mother tongue. I learned that in school. I don't use it, but I can pick it up quite easily because of the base that I had. English is our commerce language, right? So we go everywhere. English is no problem. So I think the advantage for Singapore businesses is that you have this ability to actually go into this country quite easily, I would say, if you're prepared to do so, right? Will we always be successful going to a country and not lose money and then get into trouble? I would say not realistic to assume that way for 100% of the business, right? You expect some business risk, but I encourage startups, especially in the early stage, right? I think the greatest problem or the failure will be fearing fear itself, right? If you don't dare to go out. I think it's about making sure that you go out, test, learn the lessons, but don't bankrupt yourself in the midst of testing this. Make sure you survive, and then get good lessons in, and have the belief that generally people, honest business people, they want to do decent business with you, right? Your mindset is very important. If you go in the mindset that everybody's going to cheat you, then you'll be very defensive. Nothing works. Everything is a problem. Whereas you go with a positive mindset that, look, that side also want to do business with you. They have tons of supply they want to bring for the farmers to export to our overseas market. I need those supplies. If you adopt the positive mindset, I think a lot of things will turn out, right? And you got to have some faith in the humanity, right? And that's my approach to life. May not always get it right. There may be some people that will take you for a ride, but you generally want to think positive and be positive about the whole spirit of business, especially in the region.
Yeah, I mean, I can agree more. I think we look at many people going out and many clients going out into ASEAN trying to make the most of the opportunity. And I don't think there's a one-size-fits-all, but I think going into these markets with a positive mindset, with your eyes open, but trying to make the most of the opportunity in a positive manner and be bold with the concept that you're bringing, makes a big difference. Yeah. And I also think speaking to peers or other banks or institutions and getting what was the experience, what were the challenges, where did things go wrong? This ecosystem is one in Singapore where that's possible. Yes. People speak to each other, people are open. So just taking advantage of that, but undoubtedly an amazing opportunity and something that Singapore startups need to recognize, because as you rightly say, the universe of Singapore is only so big. Yeah. And if you really want to scale, you have to go outside. Yeah.
No, Neil, you're right about collaboration and seeking advice, right? I mean, you're not the first one to go overseas, right? There are tons of businesses that succeeded and failed. We just have to open our mouth and ask our peers about what kind of experience, what kind of network they have in helping you. And the government, Enterprise Singapore has lots of these contacts in the region, right? And in the private sector, all the banks has all the network. Like when we are exploring Malaysia, we speak to HSBC Malaysia to help us connect to see what opportunity comes about. I think the whole idea of the network and ecosystem is very important. You don't operate in a silo. There are good learnings that we have taken from the past, and certainly we don't have to relearn the lessons.
If you were to maybe fast forward 3 to 5 years from now, what does Glife Technologies look like?
Well, I hope that we will become a unicorn of Southeast Asia. Our vision is to be the number one leading aggregator, right, and integrated food supply ecosystem in Southeast Asia. I think we still have that vision intact, but we are scaling sustainably. We don't want to scale at all costs because, as I mentioned earlier, scaling strains the capital. We got to take a step at a time. But in the near 3 to 5 years, I see ourselves investing in companies. Of course, organic growth is part and parcel of the game, right? That we are doing well organically. But to scale to the 1 billion revenue that we are targeting, we will need to acquire companies in the region. And that's where we need capital to support us, right? Working with our partners to see partner banks to see whether there's a potential, when we see opportunities, whether we decisively go after it, right? And then bolt on to our current business to make it even a stronger business entity. This is especially true for if we are looking at regional growth, right? Which we are already putting in place the seeds. You can't go regional by growing organically in a sense, right? It's easier. Okay, I should rephrase it. I don't want to say we can't, but it's just harder, right? But if you are acquiring company in overseas, it's just easier for us to put on and then grow it together. Yeah, with the synergies that's in.
Yeah. I think you're hitting the right themes. I think if you think about, startups over the past decade, it was very much a consumer growth platform play. I think what you're building is a new model that integrates the region. And, with that, it's not as simple as just saying, let's just take VC money and continue to grow and scale. I think today's investment thesis and today's building blocks of companies of the future, it really requires venture capital with venture debt, with growth credit, growth equity, buyout. how does that all come in, fit together to build the businesses of tomorrow? And that's the dramatic shift that we've seen in recent years as the world continues to re-globalize and regions start focusing on the agendas that are important to them. What does a bad day look for you?
Bad day?
Farmers, logistics, delivery, boardrooms, investors.
Investors, boardroom, I think I can handle.
Yes.
Again, I focus a lot on customers, right? I get my team to look at it, pay a lot of attention, and we want our customers to be served well, right? We hold a high demand on our team to make sure the customers are served well. We take in orders the day before. We turn around the orders in 24 hours. If you order something of processed vegetables or cut fruits or cut vegetables, you order in the day, we get it delivered the next morning across the causeway.
Yeah.
So just think about that,
That's
right?
An incredible number of pieces.
Yes. So you got to key in the orders. Digital orders get fired through the system. The order reaches Johor Bahru, the factory floor. The manager look at it, send the team down to process it based on the time that is required, pack it aside in a cold room, and midnight, the trucks are loaded up and they cross the causeway. Causeway takes you get stuck about one hour typically, and then they come through Singapore, drive to the doorstep of the business, deliver it to the customer. That's what we do, right? 24-hour turnaround, 24 to 40 hours. We have thousands of orders. Now we have about 10 to 20 feedback per day, sometimes even more. Depends on the day, depends on the type of vegetables and fruits. I wish that those were diminished over time, right? And that gets me on my nerve because we can't get it to zero, right? I'm a perfectionist. Those mistakes we can avoid, we should avoid, right? Like wrong delivery, orders, even quality. I demand that we must have the best quality, and we should make no excuse when we cannot deliver to our customers. And we will take the bull by the horn and try to address these issues. It is work in progress. I don't think any player out there can say that they're 100% on point on quality and the timing, etc. If you're doing 10 customers, for sure. But we are serving hundreds.
But I like your philosophy that the companies that have really scaled are those that have that maniacal focus on customers and just absolutely obsessed with customer satisfaction.
We have to. So now we are at the scale, but how do we now continue to focus on customers? And the answer must be with technology, right? With technology, you can cut through layers of inefficiency. You can ensure that the drivers deliver on time. I can track the drivers point or drop, the timing when they drop. The invoicing, ordering can be all digitalized without human error in the entry. So technology will help us. Again, huge potential. We are now working on it. We already have the platform, the technology, but it's about now how to strengthen it further to make sure that this becomes seamless. Everything that we solve will benefit the end consumer, benefit the farmer, because if we save costs in between, we'll pass on the savings, right? Either upstream or downstream, everybody benefit. And you get the best produced. What do you want? You want to feed people well. You don't want to be giving them rubbish, right? Which is dated or bad produced, like vegetables and food. You want to give them the best. So if you can shorten this, reduce waste, good for environment, good for society, good for everyone. I think trust is an important quotient here in business or in other things, right? I mean, trust is extremely important. I think coming from Singapore, we have an advantage. People believe in the Singapore Inc. brand, right? The Singapore brand of trustworthiness, that if we believe in something, if we want to execute, people believe that Singapore will have a certain set of rules and governance that we'll follow. And coming from a government for the last 30 odd years or so, I have the DNA, right? It is in me that we will want to honor and do what we say we'll do.
Well, BK, I really wanted to thank you for joining us today on this journey. You know, my key takeaways from today's discussions are significant value creation by integrating the supply chains and agri across the region. You guys are doing this through tech enablement, which gives you an edge over traditional distributors. And you've said it a couple of times that there is a greater good to feeding Southeast Asia sustainably by uplifting farmers across the region into an integrated model. And that's a very inspiring story. And thank you for sharing.
No, thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you for joining us at HSBC Global Viewpoint. We hope you enjoyed the discussion. Make sure you're subscribed to stay up to date with new episodes.